I think we have a problem. And I think the problem is that I am not very patient. I'm attempting to knit 8 pairs of slippers in 2 months. Is it possible? I don't know. Let's find out. See, the first hurdle that I'm meeting is the fact that I am still on a no-buy for yarn for 4 more days. So I would want to start swatching, felting, see if I like the pattern, see if I understand it, see if I need to adjust anything, but I can't because I don't have the yarn, and I promised myself that I wouldn't buy any more yarn for 3 months, and that's in 4 days. So I have created a little spreadsheet for my bachelorette party friends to fill out their name, their size, the colour combinations that they want, and how many of the colours they want. So as you can see, my name is, my shoe size, main colour, stripe colour, cuff colour and sole colour. They are knitted on 8mm needles, so I'm hoping that they sort of fly off the needles. Although I'm not a very big fan of big needle work. I'm looking for something that I can just do while I'm in meetings at work, while I'm on my commute, while I'm watching something, while I'm talking on the phone, and that is what I'm hoping these will be for the next 2 months. Today is the 15th of April. As of the 12th, 3 people had written down which colours they wanted, and I wasn't going to hound the others for their colours because I knew that I am going to be working on these for a while. So we had decided on what colours to get the bride. I knew what colours I wanted, and then 3 people had written down what they wanted. So I ordered yarn for the 5 of us. Now, the yarn is here. I'm so excited about this. This is the heaviest bag of yarn that I've ever ordered. Normally I always go for a thinner yarn because that's what I prefer in my garments, but these are going to be felted, so they need to be thicker, and I'm very excited. Some of these colours. Am I going to do one of those obnoxious dumps? I think I am. Fun. Okay, so off the top of my head, colours for my slippers are these. Surprise, surprise, of course I wanted a green pair, and these are so beautiful together. I just had the website to go off of, so I didn't know how the colours were going to look in real life, but I'm very happy that these 2 greens go together. And I'm also very happy that I didn't choose, or that they didn't have the warm brown that I wanted for the sole, because I think the colour is called mullvad, which would be a mole? Those little animals in the ground who dig. Are they moles? I think they're molehills, right? Mullvadshög. Anyway, this is that neutral grey, and I think this is going to look absolutely lovely. I'm so excited for my slippers. I'm going to start with them to troubleshoot anything, because if they end up being ugly and I tweak something in the pattern, I want the good versions to be for my friends and for the bride. Speaking of the bride, we know that she loves a good neon, and obviously as she is getting married, her slippers are going to be white, and the cuff and sole are going to be this neon coral, which is beautiful. Big fan. All right, this is colour 111, and this is colour probably 01, yes, for the bride. For me, I have colour 103, 108, and 23 for the sole. Then I have, for another pair, colour 127 and colour 113 for a cheeky pink. Then I have one that is unicolor and it is 112. This is a unicolor pair. One of the other ones might be using this as a cuff. I'm going to make sure I have it correct once I get around to it. So I'm not removing any of the sleeves for these because I need to know which colours which person wanted. And then I have the last pair, which is this gorgeous colour combination of 105 and 104. And this is going to be so juicy. So this ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28, 30 balls of this yarn, which is 1.5 kilos of yarn that I'm going to make into slippers. For the size 40 that I'm knitting, I need 260 gram in total, and the person who wanted a unicolor, I have 250, 300 grams. So I can safely use 20 grams of this to make a swatch and measure it and felt it and measure it again to actually see how the yarn behaves, because this is only being used by one person and I don't need all of it. So that's where I begin. You know, the typical state of things where you have a bunch of interchangeable needles of all kinds of sizes, but there's always one size that you miss, and it's a size that you need. So this pattern calls for an 8mm needle. I have a 9mm needle and a 6mm needle. I don't have 7 or 8. And I think now comparing these two, you can really see me rowing out on, I think it's my knits actually, that I row out like this. I do get a bit more even as the time goes by, but in the beginning the roving out was just quite atrocious. But the 6mm needle gives me 15.5 stitches per 10 centimeters and 19.5 rows. I need 12 and 16. So tomorrow I'm going to buy a 7mm needle and see what that gives me. I think we might have a bit of a problem. I don't know the scope of it just yet, but I literally ran to the yarn store to get there before they closed 3 days ago, I think. And they didn't have the 7mm needle that I thought that I would need. I tried the 9mm, that was far, far, far too big. I tried a 6 that was too small. And I thought, I think a 7 should be enough. An 8 will still be too big. So a 7. They didn't have a 7, so they had 8 or 6.5. And I said, what is closer to 7? 6.5. So I have now knit one nearly full slipper. I'm still going to do the I-cord. I have also knit one that I haven't assembled yet, and I have knit a salmon one. So these are my own, and this is the first for one of the bachelorette party members. All of us seem to be wearing a size 40, so the pattern says if you're a size 40, we recommend you knitting a 39. And I thought, since I use a smaller needle size, I should go up to 41 and that should be fine, right? I should just be able to finagle the amount of felting that I do with this. And for the size 41, I should use 130 grams per slipper. So far, this without the I-cord, which is supposed to weigh 20 grams. This weighs 80 grams. So even if I use all of the yarn for the I-cord, all of the 20 grams, I'm still 30 grams short of what I'm supposed to be using, the amount that I'm supposed to be using per slipper. So I have one full pair. I have the laundry room on Monday. I don't have a washing machine in the apartment, but we have a communal one that we share, and I will probably knit some more, one more slipper, maybe another of the salmon one, and finish the I-cords on this, and then I will see how these felt. If they end up being a good size for a size 40, then I will continue with this. If not, I will go up a needle size to 7 or 7.5 to see if that better matches the gauge that I'm supposed to have. But so far, I mean, I've seen the posts, I've seen the reels about how ridiculously large these are before you felt them. Mine isn't that ridiculously large, and that's no wonder because I'm not on gauge for this. So I am putting a lot of trust in felting going right. I'm also a bit on the fence about the seam. Right now it feels quite stiff and quite hard and not at all very comfortable if this were to stay the same. But this is why I'm doing this, to see if the slipper changes at all when I felt it. I am quite pleased with my seaming. I think I do have one or two spots where it's not very neat or where my tension is quite uneven, but that should probably felt out, shouldn't it? So these three slippers and the construction of one has taken a day and a half. I cast the first one on Thursday evening. I knitted a bunch of it. Then on Friday, so yesterday, I had a full day of training. So I was just listening to seminars and I was knitting. So I finished the sole of one of the striped ones. And then I didn't want to take up and knit a striped version because it felt sort of rude to be switching between the stripes and making sure that I have the correct number of stripes and everything. Now in hindsight, I should probably have done that because the stripes make it a lot easier to know where I am. But I instead brought yarn for a salmon one. This is a friend who wanted a unicolor slipper, so that's what I have done. So I basically finished this yesterday at the training, and then this is what I have knit today. And I mean, it is a very easy pattern. It's not very easy on my hands because I am a very tight knitter and I do not fare very well with switching between knitting and purling. And since these rows are so short, you do a lot of going back and forth between knitting and purling. And then some decreases and some increases also strains the hand. But I feel like I have learned quite a lot. This is going to be very manageable in time for the wedding, for the bachelorette party. We are less than a month out from the bachelorette trip, and I have been procrastinating. I need to stop doing that. So I finished one pair. These are knit with 6mm needles. I then nearly finished another pair on the 6mm needles, the unicolor ones, this salmon-y colourway. Haven't sewn them together because I realised that this is probably, I can probably do better, and I want to know if I can. So I finally bit the bullet. I bought the remaining yarn that I need, and I bought an 8mm needle. Now the 8mm is probably going to be way too big, but I want to see how hard I can felt it down and how structurally sound the resulting fabric will be. Now I'm working on the third pair. So I made my pair, felted them, they fit. I made the second pair. I'm ready to sew it and felt it if I like the tension and the result better. Now I'm making a third pair. This is the first one with the 8mm needles, and it is in a tri-pink colourway, and this is giving Peppa Pig in the best sort of way. Now I am not a Peppa person, but someone is. I forgot the name. I forgot who wanted which colour combination. I just told them to, fill out your preferences and your shoe size, and it's a bit of a surprise for me as well to see when we turn up who wanted which colourway. And we have the stripe colour in this light pink, this neon pink for the sole, and this middle pink for the main colour. Now I'm just going to knit my heart out. I was thinking about trying to decide if I like knitting with 8mm needles or not, if they are too bulky. And then I realised it doesn't matter because I have committed to doing this, and I am going to do this no matter if I like it or not. So, yay me. Luckily the pattern is very easy. I have now knit it twice or 4 times, but there is a slight variation between the feet, the left and the right foot. So I think once I get the routine in, this is just going to be something that I do in my sleep. Now I changed from the size 41 that I used for the first 2 pairs to a size 39 because I figure I'm going to felt these down as much as possible. I'll just go down 1 size and see if that works out for a size 40. This is the second one of these pink striped ones, and I was knitting along on these stripes, wondering why they feel so familiar. Then I added in the dark pink, and it just struck me. These are so Piglet. They are Piglet coded, and I can't unsee it, and I don't think that I can tell the person who gets them. I mean, unless she turns out to be super chill, I just don't think. I mean, she's going to have Piglet slippers. And I mean, I would assume she knew what she was getting into when she asked for 3 different shades of pink in her slippers, but it's iconic. Gotta give her that. So yesterday I was in a board meeting and I was very bored, and I knit basically all of this. I finished the first one, as in I finished knitting the sole. I think I was about at the decrease for the heel when I came into the meeting, and then I knit all of this up until this point, which I did now watching Futurama. Never watched it before, and I don't know if I have many opinions yet. It's a silly show. So these are super quick to knit. I had a thought. My thought was that it is quite interesting to see my rowing out. Okay, it's noticeable in the 8 as well, at least on camera. But in real life, the rowing out on the 6.5mm needle it's really noticeable. I can see it with my naked eye. And with the 8mm needle, it's not very noticeable. And I don't have rowing out issues on smaller needles either, so a sock needle 2.5, but I have seen rowing out in these, which wasn't it on a 3.5, I think. So I wonder if I just row out on like needle sizes between 3.5 and 6.5, because this is far less row outy. I mean, yes, this and this is quite noticeable, but it is far less than this, which is just comically striped. And I knit them on circular needles, interchangeable wooden needles, which is my go-to. Hate metal needles. So I wonder if it's just how I hold my yarn or my needles. Hang on. So in the span of, I don't know, a few days, I have gone from thinking, oh shit, I'll never finish these, I have procrastinated far too long, to now all of a sudden being like, oh, this is going to be super chill because these are super quick to knit. And I have some travelling coming up, and I wonder if I should wait, if I should just keep the last few pairs for that trip to knit, to have something easy and mindless to knit while I'm on the train, when I'm visiting my family, when we're talking. I'll be visiting with my mum and my aunt and my great aunt as well, who are all avid knitters, so there will be a lot of click-clacking needles while we chat over coffee and cake. So I would like to have something easy-ish to knit, but the problem with this is that since the gauge is just humongous, I need so much yarn for it. I mean, for these two slippers, I had to bring like, I don't know, 5 balls of yarn to finish one and then start the other. And if I want to knit the remaining ones, I will have to bring all of the balls, and that's going to be quite a lot of volume, not weight at all. It's super light because it's basically just air, but I'll have to see how I pack and what I want to do for that. I might also just get into a knitting frenzy, as I tend to before a trip, and make great plans for what I want to knit and cast on, so I have a good place to start during my trip. And then I end up just knitting until the piece is finished before I even go on the trip. Monday we have the laundry room again, and then I will felt these and compare if I like these better than the 6.5mm gauge. And I think that I will like these better because they are far bigger, they're going to be denser, and then because I did finish these salmon-y unicolor ones, except for the I-cord around the cuff, because I was like, oh, I'll knit these, and worst comes to worst, I'll unravel them before I felt them if I realise that the bigger needle is better. And I already know, obviously, how the 6.5 felted and looks. So these are my second guinea pig pair, and I should sew them up before Monday so I can just have them completely finished. That would be nice. So I know what my next step is if I need to go down to a 7mm needle, if I need to hunt down a 7mm needle, which was unsuccessful last time around, or if I'm able to just wrangle these into the proper size for our feet. It's Friday. I have nothing planned after a hectic week. Do I actually just want to see Pride and Prejudice 1995 year's version? Because that is my best version. 2005 doesn't hold a candle to 95's version. It's just so beautiful. I've watched it 1,000 times, and when I saw the Barbie movie and I saw that they had like a depression Barbie, and her kit, she came with 1995 Pride and Prejudice miniseries, I felt so attacked, yet so seen, because that is my comfort movie series. It's just absolutely comforting. As soon as I can let go of my I-cord, because I-cord knitting feels very addictive. It's just like it, because you don't have one more round. It is one more stitch. And I also think that do I like how I picked up that stitch? No, I don't. So let's back that up. Try it again. Yes, much better. Okay, now Pride and Prejudice. Let's go. So something really silly happened as I was working on this particular set of slippers. I burnt my thumb, and it wasn't anything dangerous or anything. It was just bloody painful. So I had to do some gymnastics for my knitting. I sort of hooked my hand around and tried to use like the base, the ball of my thumb. I did some flicking instead, and just a bunch of silly shit that I wouldn't normally do if I didn't have this project that's going to be felted anyway. So if the tension is a bit off, it doesn't quite matter because I'm just going to, felt it. So I did all of this, and then I realised something. Sometimes I just piss myself off. I am fully capable of reading, but apparently I'm not. So I was happily knitting along, finishing this, sewing it together because I knew that I have the laundry room tomorrow. I even pushed my laundry time from today to tomorrow, so I would have these finished to felt. And then I'm on the second sole, and I realised that I'm going to be running out of this pink yarn soon. And I go digging through the remaining yarn that I have for this, and I realized that I don't have another one of these, and I'm like, am I so off gauge on the wrong side that I just used up the yarn? Let me check, because I'm seeing a lot of blue. Have I made a mistake? And I go through and look at the chart that I made, or the Excel spreadsheet that I made, and yes, I did make a mistake. This sole is not supposed to be pink, it's supposed to be blue. And the most boring part of this is sewing it together. And I saved it for a conference, or for a meeting that I was attending this morning. And I was so proud that I'd finished it, and I was just going to finish the I-cord, and then womp womp, I'm going to have to rip it all out. So instead of doing that, I did the second best thing, or a productive thing that didn't feel as painful as undoing all of that. So I ripped out the, I don't know, 10 centimeters or so that I had of this pink sole for the second foot, the second slipper, and I remade it in blue. So I am going to have something to felt tomorrow, hopefully 2, because I would like to see how these work with washing on a 60-degree cycle instead of a 40, which I did first time, and that didn't felt it quite enough. So I would like to give it more heat and the same amount of agitation, and see if that makes them perfect. So yeah, sometimes I just don't read, and then I find out too late. Anyway, I'm sitting here in the office with our cat. She is quite skeptical. She doesn't really like people, but there she is. She's so precious. I love her. We've had her for 2 weeks and I love her so much. She spent the day underneath the sofa, and then she came here, and then I followed her. I was working on the sofa up until like 2 hours ago, and now I'm here to hang out with her, to make sure she knows that I'm not scary. I'm just very, very needy. I've given her treats. She hasn't touched them. She has sniffed them, however. So, oh, she's so precious. She's going to fall asleep. I love her. The feeling of having a cat again is just 10 out of 10. And I am feeling it in my nostrils and in my nose, generally, and my eyes. I am allergic to cats, but I want joy in my life. So we have a cat. I'm going to redo these. Just wanted to tell you. And yeah, I was so proud of myself too. So all of the work that I did with my burnt thumb, all of the weird gymnastics that I did, that was all in vain, because none of that is going to be used for this final object, the finished object. I'm going to have to rip it all back. And that's the heartbreaking thing, not the time, because the time is negligible. What's the word? Something is negligible. I don't think I've ever said that word out loud. I've just read it. Anyway, the time doesn't matter. That is such a small amount of time that it's just, that doesn't matter. I'm not in time crunch just yet. But having done that for nothing, I'm looking at my thumb, it's looking a lot better. It's not even noticeable anymore, I think. Well, yeah, a bit. It's a bit shiny. Tangent, I should get back to work. Today is the 21st of May and I am on such a roll with these slippers now. Yesterday I cast on and finished the first one. I think, yeah, I cast it on at work during a meeting, and then I knit on it on my commute home, and then I had a meeting in the afternoon or the evening and I finished it, and then I cast this on, knit on it for the rest of the meeting, and I've done the sole this morning on my commute and just finished it during our lunch meeting. And I was able to cast the bride's slippers on. So these are so quick to knit. I cannot emphasize enough how quick they actually are. I mean, what was it? Just knitting them takes a few hours a piece, and I was able to finish one whole pair, basically one whole pair yesterday. Then seaming and knitting the I-cord, that does take a bit of time too, but obviously not the biggest part, and also that's the part that I procrastinate. So I am knitting the bride's slippers right now. I will be adding this coral for the base of her slipper as well, so white top and coral sole and I-cord, and then I am reknitting the salmon pair, and then I have to decide if I want to reknit my pair as well, the one that has already been felted but was at a much tighter gauge, so it hasn't been felted as much. And then that's me finished. I feel like I'm for the first time really actually seeing the finish line, so that's exciting, and I have weeks to spare. That's very unlike me. Good morning. We are less than 2 weeks out from the trip. My voice is very morning-y. Apologies for that. And it is a great day. I am, for the first time this year, actually wearing shorts. That feels amazing. But I wanted to update you on where we are with progress. So I finished 2 slippers for the very sorbet-y citrus fruit colourway. This is not a colourway that I would have chosen myself if I had looked at the colours in real life. I hope that the person isn't disappointed by them, because honestly it feels like these 2 colours, the striped colours, they go beautifully. They have the same tone intensity, and then this one is quite milky in comparison, and this is just too warm or is too saturated. So I hope she's happy with them, and if she isn't, I hope she never tells me, because that would make me sad. And I finished the bride's slippers. So these are probably supposed to be this way around. So just 2 colours. I think they look great. I love the stark contrast between the sole and the top of the shoe, and it's just now super scary to, to felt these, to wash them. I'm going to put them in the washer for a 60 degree cycle, which I did with the other slippers, and that worked out well. I have to stretch them a little bit, but I am not going to experiment with anything else. I've found something that works, and I just hope it works again. So that's what I'm going to do this morning. Now I have one last pair of these to finish. They are somewhere. Oh yeah, here they are. Oh, okay, so I actually have finished a lot of them. But these are the salmon unicolor ones. So this one is on 8mm needles and this one is on 6.5, and I haven't finished these because I thought that I would measure the gauge differences between the 8mm and the 6.5, because now looking at them, I don't know that I am actually on gauge either for the 8mm ones. I might be under gauge again because I have so much of the yarn left that I wasn't expecting to still have. I mean, if I look at my scraps, I mean, these are a lot of scraps to allegedly be done with these. So some of them are just because the amounts were odd. So if I needed 20 grams of a cuff colour and I bought an entire ball of 50 grams, of course I'm going to have some left over. But for example, these three are from my own slippers that I knit on the 6.5mm needle and therefore used far less yarn. So they are sort of excused out of this. I have a full ball of the white left and I only bought white for this pair. And there is just this tiniest sliver of white left from the other white balls. It might be that I'm just like 10 grams under weight for the white ones. But that doesn't really make sense either. So white is a mystery, why I didn't use enough. Also, the peach that I used for the soles is also a mystery. Why do I have one whole ball left of this? Because it's two slippers that use this for the soles and one for the cuffs. So I shouldn't be left with one whole ball. Right? This pink I think I ordered by accident. This is... no. No, wait. This pink I ordered by accident. This is confusing. A lot of these colours are just so incredibly similar. Like, what is this? These are three different colours. So this I think I ordered by accident. I didn't need two of these because I was only doing one cuff with this. So that is also excused. Then one whole ball of the yellow. I have this much left. That doesn't make sense. One whole ball and then some of the blue that I used for the magenta and blue one. This whole ball doesn't make sense. Have I been scammed into buying too much drops yarn? Or am I off gauge? Let me get my scales to see what a slipper actually weighs. Hang on. Okay, scales, level, and tear, 0. One slipper weighs 93 grams. Is that correct? How much was I supposed to use? The bride's slippers weigh 89 grams. And let me check how much these weigh. This is one of the 8mm slippers. 87 grams. And this is mine. That was on 6.5mm needles. 85 grams. I fear this does not make sense. But I have slippers and they fit. So I don't think that I'm going to make... I don't have time to make this a thing. I'm going to wash these and felt them. I'm going to finish the salmon one. And then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with all of these mostly pink scraps. Because I would like to knit something and felt it like a basket or a cat house. that would be cute. But I am not really a pink person, as I said previously in the video, or rather, I could absolutely fuck with these. This, oh, and these, and this, and this, and this. These colours together, they give me joy. That would be lovely. But all of these that are just, they are too muted, too milky for my liking, and too warm. I mean, this is milky as well, but it's cool toned. These are just, yeah, I think it's mainly these three colours that I just don't really vibe with, and maybe just these two that I absolutely do not vibe with, because they feel too flesh toned. They are too close to my flesh tone to be comfortable to me. It feels a bit unnerving to have something in this kind of way. So I think I'm going to do a big scrap project. And I also might knit some slippers for my nibblings, because one of them is really into pink. He would probably want something pink and purple, but I don't have purple, so pink it will be. Okay, I've made a mess. Now I'm going to go do the laundry, and we will see if the most important slippers make it through. I'm very afraid of this bleeding into the white, and if it does, I will have to figure it out. After all, I have some white left. See you in the laundry room. Okay, so I went back and looked at the gauge for the pattern, and the slippers before felting call for 12 stitches by 16 rows in 8mm needles. When I did the 6.5mm needles, I had 14.5 stitches and 20 rows, so far too big. And then when I went up to the 8mm needle, I had 13 stitches by 17 rows. So I'm still smaller than the gauge, and I don't know what happened, because when I looked at my gauge swatch for the 9mm needles, I had like ridiculously too many stitches. And now I'm wondering if I looked at the wrong number, if I looked at the felted stitches after for the gauge swatch and compared the 9mm to that, because if I had had this information when I was deciding at the very beginning, I wouldn't even have bothered with the 6.5mm needles, because obviously I'm still under with the 8mm needles, which just feels strange. And honestly, my mind hasn't been really the sharpest tool in my toolbox for this project. It's a very no thoughts, only vibes based project, and I mean, it works. I've managed to get the felting right to fit properly, so I'm not too bothered. It's just what it is. Oh yeah, and now that I'm knitting these salmon ones, I also figured out that my rowing out happens on my knit rows, not my purl rows, which I will have to think about and see if I can make it go away somehow. It hasn't really, I mean, you could not tell which is rowed out and which isn't on the felted slipper, but for projects that I don't want to felt, it would be nice to not row out. So that might be an issue for a later date to figure out. I am on the home stretch now with these. I have finished the I-cord on the first one, and now I haven't sewn in any ends because I want the cable for this for another project, but I figured if I allow myself to take the cable out of this, I'm not going to finish the thing in time. So I have the laundry room tomorrow, the last day before we leave, and I need these finished by tomorrow because I'm not hand felting these. No, that is off the table. So I haven't sewn in any ends, but I'm making the I-cord before construction. And the other 5 pairs, hang on, are they 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be 5. The other 5 pairs are finished, they are dried, they are felted, and this is the final piece. I reknit these from a 6.5 to an 8mm needle, and I cannibalized this slipper for, you see, the yarn. And I do not understand this because all of this was part of the 6.5mm slipper. I have not added any more yarn to this. So the 8mm slipper somehow used less yarn than the 6.5mm slipper. How does that make sense? But yeah, nearly finished. They're going to be fine, they're going to be felted, and then I'm not going to be making any more slippers for a while, probably. I don't think. Because now I want to make other things, more spring, summer related things, because it's such a heat wave right now. It's gorgeous weather, but I have the curtains drawn because it's just too hot to sit in the sun, which is a lovely problem to have at the end of May in Sweden.
Have to pass through 8 locks and along 3 rivers. Valued to be the most intelligent building of the world.
Precis. My goodness, I have been home for 10 days now, and let me tell you, I am just barely now recovering. It was such a great weekend. We had so much fun. It was amazing. And everyone loved their slippers. I got them finished on time, and everyone was super appreciative. And if they weren't, they were good sports about it, and they at least fooled me. So, mission accomplished. I finished all of the slippers. Some final thoughts. I still have not managed to get gauge for these. So there was one person who decided to knit her own, and hers were definitely more felted than mine. So they had more structure. And I have to say, I preferred her version to mine because these are fine, but they are still a bit too sock-like. So I think that I'm going to felt these down more because they still have some wiggle room in them. And I think that I might reknit a pair out of the huge bag of scraps that I have to bring to the office, because these I think are staying home because they are great. I put them on after we had been out all day on Saturday, and they were just so comfy. And since they aren't sock like sized, they give you a lot more wiggle room, and it feels like you're actually wearing a pair of slippers instead of a thick pair of socks. Because with socks, I feel like they can be so tight that your feet don't really warm up. But with these, since there is a bit of air between you and the sock or the slipper, your feet warm up quicker, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's actually how thermodynamics work, but that's how it feels. So I might actually knit myself a pair of properly gauged slippers whenever I feel like it, because I have a bunch of scraps. I tried weighing my scraps just now to see how much I actually have left, and my scales, they aren't very precise, so they said I had 400 grams left. And I don't think that makes sense because I have so many full balls left. Like this already is 200 grams, right? Because one is 50. So if I have all of these scraps, this ought to be more than 400 grams. And what am I supposed to do with this? So, you know what? I will figure something out. I'm going to make a scrappy project out of it. And I'm going to felt myself a pair of work slippers. And I wonder if I should just go a bit rogue with them and do like a fun color combination for them with like these ice cream colored. Do I want... Is this too pastel-y? Too kitschy? Maybe I'll just do completely unmatched, mismatched slippers with one dark blue and one dark pink sole, maybe, and just live my best life, and then use the scraps to make like a big basket. And I'm not the biggest fan of this peachy apricot-y shade, so I might use that for like the bottom, so I don't have to look at it too much, because a basket with these colorings at home, I mean, yeah, it could work. And I also think that I'm going to make a pair of slippers for my nibblings. So the slipper saga continues. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This was such a mammoth episode of whatever this was. So thanks for sticking to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I thought this was really fun. I've enjoyed filming and making these, and I've enjoyed now having a break from the sailor slippers. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.